take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. It's time!
It's Sunday, June 13th, 2021. This is the Church of MMA podcast. My name is Tabor Cragen.
My name is Mason Knight. This is episode 78, UFC 263 recap. After that, we jump into some MMA news, and then we talk about the Korean Zombie Dan Ige preview show. But before we do all that, Tabor, where do we begin?
With our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at the Church of MMA. Guys, if you aren't following us already, make sure you go and do it. We are posting funny memes, clips of the show every single day. Hit us up.
Yeah, be sure to smash that subscribe button. And all the people watching right now, please be sure to smash that like button as well. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get there. We can open up a community page. Got a lot of things in the works. And if you guys want a some church merch like this shirt here, I wear it every week just for you guys. You guys can go find that in the description below.
Absolutely. Guys, I have to apologize before we get started. I'm a bit, not under the weather. I am not sick, luckily, but these allergies are fucking me up today. So if you hear me sneeze or blow my nose in the background, sorry about that.
Just expect the worst and expect Tabor probably not to be here next week. He was dying of pneumonia last week. Apparently he's got Don't
even say it. We just get
a couple of sicknesses that are related to the
instantly.
19. So,
no, dude, I don't even know what it was because it was raining all day, and usually the rain, especially here in town, the pollen's so bad because of the bottoms and all that, and the flowers. We've got huge gardens and stuff where we live, but I don't know what it is, dude. It's raining, and usually that knocks it down, but today it's just fucked. I was fucked all day, and I'm gonna have to get over it. But
the best way to get past allergies?
Don't have any.
Don't have any. Exactly.
So
you're right on the money. You gotta start speaking to the fucking mic though,
My
Gideon.
bad.
When you're
I gotta
talking.
move it over.
There you go.
We got it. We're good.
Because you gotta make some funny jokes. So
it's number one. We need a sneeze tracker.
This is gonna be
a rough
show.
one. It's gonna be a rough
interesting
one.
show.
I'm
Folks.
sorry, but you know what? Let's start at the top, Mason.
Yes.
Like we always do. What a fantastic card we had last night. God, I can't even talk. UFC 263. Did it live up to the hype? I think so.
Main event wise, sure, I guess. I mean, we did exactly what I thought Israel Adesanya was going to do. I bet on Vettori strictly strategically, but I mean, I said it during the oh boy, this is going to be hard to focus. But during our last episode, I was like, yeah, no, all day Izzy's going to go out there, defend his belt, and he's going to get the win over Vettori. And the thing was with Vettori, it didn't matter where it was. He couldn't take him down. He couldn't stand with Israel. Israel was just better in every facet of this fight. And it was just really astonishing to me that Vettori, it looked like he thought he won the fight. And I'm just like, dude, you lost 5 rounds. Like, I don't understand in any world you could have ever thought that you won that fight. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's I had the same thing with the first fight. I mean, he totally thought he won, and one judge did give it to him, but I'm sorry, these judges are fucking whack. These judges are fucking whack. I didn't see it. I did not see it in the first fight, and I definitely didn't see it in this fucking second one.
There wasn't a single
round.
round.
It was a unanimous 50-45.
Yeah.
Inventory, what is... I think he just might be challenged, right?
Well,
Mentally?
I don't want to go that far.
Shitting on the guy.
Yeah, no. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where... he's kind of just he's all over the place. I don't know how you could have ever thought. The closest he got to winning that fight was that rear naked choke, which didn't happen, which was great defense on Izzy's part. Yeah. Because that was starting to get deep in, and Izzy just turned into it, got right on top of him, and then they got back to the feet. I mean, outside of that first round, Marvin Vettori had no success with his takedowns. I mean, how many times in testament to Israel Adesanya, learning from his past fight against Jan Blachowicz, obviously Blachowicz being a much bigger guy, I understand that, but learning better takedown defense for this fight, Marvin Vettori didn't have an answer for anything Israel Adesanya threw his way. I mean, Izzy looked like the superior fighter, and it looked like easy work. I mean, there was even a point in rounds 4 and 5 where Izzy was essentially mocking Marvin Vettori openly, being like, Oh, yeah, and then
He
finger in
straight
his
up
butt.
grabbed his ass.
Well, there were some fingers that went up the old bum hole where the
oil.
sun don't shine. Yeah, he did. He did check his oil.
goodness.
So he's humping one guy in the octagon afterwards, and he's
Checking Marvin.
checking his oil in the other one. So hey, man, I am pumped to see where that goes next with the Colby Covington rematch. After, or no, never mind. Just joking with Colby. Obviously, it's Usman. But
That's so funny. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Marvin because
what is he going to do to Whitaker though?
Israel?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that fight. Let's just get into that because that's better in my opinion.
I think in all seriousness, I just don't see how Robert Whitaker beats Israel Adesanya.
Me neither. I think he's just completely
in all
on another
seriousness.
level. I mean, let's be real. He knocked Robert out essentially twice in that fight. The first round, he almost got the finish. If it was any more time on the clock, he would have gotten the finish. Second round, he came out and did the same thing. That chest left hook was fucking vicious. I think it could be a competitive 5-round fight this next time around because Robert probably I feel like he tried implementing a game plan that wasn't his. He saw the success that Kelvin Gastelum had before that fight and tried doing it himself, rushed in and got cracked. You can't do that with Israel. He's too good. He's too slick. That might have been a one-time thing with Izzy, seeing him go into 5-round war like that. I don't know if we ever see that again. I'm interested, though, because I think Robert could do decent and, might find some success. I think he could survive and go 5 rounds in this next
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just don't know where, like, if I'm looking on paper, and obviously Robert Whitaker did not look the same in that first fight compared to how he normally fights. I think the last 3 fights that he's had is the way Robert Whitaker typically looks.
Yeah.
Right? But in that Izzy fight, he was way too aggressive. He wanted to take his head off, and he got caught for it. He got caught not once, but twice, essentially. He got put out twice. So this time around, I definitely think Robert Whitaker can go 5 rounds. But in my personal opinion, even though he's going those 5 rounds, I don't know where within those 5 rounds where he wins this fight. Outpointing Israel Adesanya has got to be one of the hardest things to do because he's a brilliant counter striker. He's so fluid in his movements. He's so hard to catch. His feints are incredible. I mean, you never know when this guy's going to throw or when he's faking you out. Like he's so quick. He's so fast. I don't know. I don't know where Robert beats him. I mean, I could be wrong.
It's got to be the ground. I mean, you got to think who's a better wrestler, Marvin Vettori or Robert Whitaker. You have to give it to Whitaker. He's got the Olympic level wrestling. I mean, the man was training for World Games while he was UFC champion.
But that, I think you're totally right there, but I think that's the biggest thing where we've got to figure out, okay, well, we just saw it against Vettori. Israel's takedown defense was superb. It was brilliant. I mean, yeah, Marvin got him down once or twice, but that was it. Out of the 12, 15 times
he was good enough to scramble and then reverse positions and got up every single time. He just completely won every round because of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if Marvin was finding success. Izzy had the skills to get back into the winning column. It was just it was very impressive.
And I think, with another full training camp with Izzy working on that even more, taking on Robert Whitaker.
It's going to be way more difficult.
I mean, man, it's going to be tough for Robert. It's going to be really tough for him to be able to take him down, be effective on the ground, and keep that top position.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I don't know, man, but unquestionably, Robert Whitaker deserves the next shot, period. Clear cut and concise. I don't want to hear anyone else's name in this middleweight division.
Yes, you can't even mention anyone else.
No one else. It's got to be Robert Whitaker. And Dana White came out and said that anyway. He said Robert Whitaker's next. Robert Whitaker called out Israel Adesanya on Twitter, and then Israel responded. So it already seems like this fight is essentially set in stone. Obviously, contracts haven't been signed, but it appears that both fighters want it, and Dana White wants it. And when you get the boss on board, the fight's probably going to be made. So
yeah, I mean, it's the only fight to make right now. And, you have Brunson going to fight Till. You have Paulo Costa dropped out of that fight, so now who's he fighting?
He was going to fight Jared Cannonier.
Now Kelvin Gastelum. So I mean, the division's moving on.
Yeah, it is.
And I like that because I really want to see Israel stay at 185 pounds and defend his belt. He could be a great star. He could be one of the greatest 185 pounders ever of all time.
Yep.
Eventually, he might move back up to 205. I mean, Jan retires. He's almost 40 years old now. He defends his belt a couple times. He retires. He goes off in the sunset. And you wait for a great matchup, a good striking matchup.
You know who I'd love to see him fight? Jerry Prochazka.
Oh, fuck.
Please tell me that wouldn't be one of the greatest striking fights of all time, with how unorthodox and crazy Jiri is trying to take your head off, with Israel Adesanya, the way he moves, the way he feints.
Dude.
Like, bro, that would be in the way, how good of a counter striker Israel Adesanya is.
I'd take
that
Jiri
fight
in that
would
fight.
be so explosive and so much fun, man.
Are you
I'd
shitting
love
me?
it.
That would be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, that would be one of the greatest matchups you can make at 205 pounds.
Especially at 5 rounds,
You
too.
know, and Israel's the type of guy, I know I've said this, everyone's like, oh, Izzy's got to bulk up for 205. He doesn't have to. He was knocking out heavyweights in kickboxing as the same size of guy. So, I don't know. Jiri might be too much, though. Let's, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I'm never going to say no.
He took on Jan Blachowicz, so hey, you never know. In 3
You
years,
never know, yeah.
if Izzy defends his belt here in middleweight for 3 years, cleans out this division, he's got to eventually move up and challenge again. Because here's the thing, man. Yes, he clearly lost, 4 rounds to 1 against Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
But when Israel was there, the biggest takeaway from that was he was just too small. He didn't put on enough weight. I mean, he weighed in, for Christ's sake, he weighed in at 197 pounds or whatever it was. It was
203, but he had a pizza in his hand.
Right. Okay, exactly. He had a pizza in his hand, which a pizza is pretty heavy. That's 2 or 3 pounds at least for a big-ass pizza. So, whatever. I mean, he weighed in at 200 pounds. I don't know, man. I think he'll have to move up. I just think he's got to focus on actually bulking up a little bit and getting stronger. Because when you're taking on a guy like Jan Blachowicz, like that, man, the Polish power.
It just depends on
real.
I think it depends on the matchup. You know, if you get a striking matchup, I'd say he doesn't need to. But if he's going up against a wrestler that's going to try and take him down,
Yeah,
and
but
just
Jiri's a
manhandle the
striker,
guy,
man.
Exactly, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I'm excited for Israel's future. I don't know what it holds. Obviously, it holds the Robert Whittaker rematch. But after that, I mean, who's next? I mean, maybe a Jared Cannonier if he gets past Kelvin Gastelum. But I mean, the way Robert Whittaker completely dominated Jared.
Yeah.
Does it go any different? I don't see
no, I
anybody.
don't.
I don't see anybody competing with Israel at 185 pounds right now. Besides, and I know we talked about this a lot last night, a Kamaru Usman moving up to 185 pounds. That's the matchup to make, in my opinion. Once Kamaru and Israel both defend their belts a lot, let's put so much fucking cash in front of them that fight needs to be made.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, I don't think they'll ever fight each other.
Yeah, just because they're boys.
Well, it's very interesting. I think if the roles were reversed, and if Israel Adesanya was a welterweight and Kamaru Usman was a middleweight, I guarantee you with the way Israel Adesanya is, he would move up and fight Kamaru Usman. But I don't think Kamaru Usman is that kind of guy to move up and challenge a friend. But I think if Izzy wanted that gold at middleweight and he was a welterweight, he would definitely take that fight. That's just my personal opinion from looking at both of them.
When it comes down to legacy, when it comes down to who's the greatest fighter of all time in their division, when it comes down to who wants to be the greatest of all time, regardless of division, regardless of era, that's the type of fight you need to take. I'm so disappointed we never got GSP Anderson Silva. We never got John Jones Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many fights that should have been made, never happened.
Yeah. It really does suck.
It does, you know, and I those are 2 champions. They're going to be dominant champions, and I don't see anybody competing with them in either of their divisions. So, I mean, when you have guys like that, you want them to fight each other.
Yeah.
Kamaru Usman at 185 pounds, are you fucking kidding me?
I think he
you
could do it.
imagine? Oh, I think he would be the guy. I think he's the worst matchup for Israel. I think he has the wrestling to take him down and dominate, and he's only getting better and better on the feet with Trevor Whitman. Trevor Whitman might be the greatest striking coach of all time.
Well, and I think Kamaru Usman is pound for, and he is number one. But I do completely 100% agree with that. With Khabib Nurmagomedov retiring, I think Kamaru Usman is pound for pound greatest fighter in the world right now.
They still got John Jones as number 1 on the list.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't see why.
You shrink John Jones down to 170 pounds. Who wins that fight? John Jones, Usman.
Usman.
I think it goes Jones. Just if it's in the striking matchup, they're both so dominant and so good on the ground. It's anyone's game there, but striking matchup, I'm going Jones every time. And unless,
but see, that's
just
something
depends.
that. But yeah, see, I kind of disagree with that because John Jones has never faced a guy like Usman who's got that jab, who's able to keep him at range. I mean, if you were shrinking John Jones down, then he's not going to have an 84-inch reach, right? Because he would be a welterweight, not a light heavyweight.
yeah, but it's still have the same body style. You know, it'd be like Israel.
Okay.
Essentially going down. I think Israel's a guy that might actually be able to make 170. Can you imagine if he just sucked himself down a little bit more? He might actually make that weight.
I don't think he could.
I think he
don't
could.
think he could.
He weighed in at 183 for this camp.
Yeah. Maybe. I just.
I mean, you got welterweights walking around 205 pounds. I mean, Usman probably walks around 200. You know, dieting, he probably walks around 195. You got guys that are killing themselves to make this weight. Usman at 185 pounds is the fight to make, in my opinion, because one, he doesn't have to cut weight, and I would just love to see it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to this co-main.
Oh, let's go picks real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you bet on Vittori. You put 500 church coin on the guy, which seemed like the smart bet at the time.
Just
he was
strategically.
such a huge underdog.
He was a big underdog, so I was like, sure, why not? I mean, I had said it on our last episode. I said, I know Israel Adesanya is going to go out there and win this fight, but it's just at a value at a minus 240. I didn't want to put money on that.
Yeah, you have to put way too much like I did. I put 4,127 church coin on the guy just because I knew he was a lock-in for the win, and I'm glad I did because it did give me a nice little return of 1,700.
All right, let's move on to this Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno flyweight championship of the world. And you know what? This was one of my, I got to be honest here, this was one of my favorite moments in UFC history, at least me watching live. Because not only did I count out Brandon Moreno once, but I did it twice. And, I got chills. Like, on the Fight Companion, like, I was just blown away. I was so happy for Brandon Moreno. And it was like a Rocky Balboa moment. Like, it was that powerful. Like, it was like I was watching a movie about this hero. I mean, you're talking about a guy who got cut from the UFC at one point.
Yeah,
had to come
recently,
back.
2018.
Had to come back and fight his way to the top. He tweeted a photo in 2016 with the old school UFC championship belt, and he said, one day this will be mine. And he went out there and did that despite all the odds, and he beats a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo, who we are saying is one of the most explosive, dynamic flyweights in the history of the sport. And he went out there and dominated the first two rounds and submitted him in the third. I mean, what a story Brandon Moreno has, and it couldn't happen to a better guy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the main event, in my opinion. I think just because Israel's fight was so dominant, he won all 5 rounds. This was the fight that gave me chills, gave me goosebumps, that just made me feel really good.
This was the fight I was most hyped for.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards on the card, and that fight, I mean, we talked so much shit about that fight, but it kind of lived up to it. But this was the fight I was really cared about.
Right.
Because, one, it was a runner-up to Fight of the Year last year, and I didn't think it was going to be that good, but I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked. Brandon Moreno showed the composure, the skill set, everything he needed to do, the takedown defense, the takedowns himself. He was so smooth on the ground, and to take Figueiredo's back. What was it? I think it wasn't just the one time. Didn't he do it earlier in like the second round or something too? He was dominated on the ground and feet. He dominated everywhere.
Yep.
Against, like you said, one of the most explosive, dynamic fighters we've ever seen at 125 pounds. Brandon Moreno, if he shows out, could he be one of the most dominant flyweight champions we've ever seen? He just beat a guy that we've said might not lose.
Well, it's kind of a loaded question because we just started saying that about Deiveson Figueiredo too. So we got to be real careful here because we kind of got to eat our shoe here because like we were saying, oh, no one's ever going to beat Deiveson Figueiredo. He's going to be one of the greatest of all time, yada, yada, yada. But Brandon Moreno goes out there and beats him in this rematch. And now we're talking about Brandon Moreno. Is anyone going to be able to beat Brandon? But
I think these are the 2 best flyweights in the world. I think these are without a doubt the 2 best flyweights in the world. And the way he finished Figueiredo, I mean, that puts Brandon Moreno on another level, I would say.
Well, I think with Deiveson Figueiredo here, he's got to move up because that weight cut, he literally waited
like
to
shit.
the last minute.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken something out of him, man. He didn't look the same. And I'm not taking anything away from Brandon Moreno. Nothing at all. It's a story of triumph, like what he was able to do, and it was a beautiful moment in the sport's history. However, I think for Deiveson Figueiredo, he's got to move up. He's got to move up, man. He's got to go to bantamweight. That's where I want to see him. I want to see him fight at 135. I think he's sucking himself dry, and he can barely make weight these days. And he's huge. I mean, you look at that fight against how he won the belt against Joseph Benavidez, which let's keep in mind, he missed weight for the first title fight and then went out and beat Joseph Benavidez again. He almost didn't make weight this time. He waited till the last minute to make weight. I'd rather see this guy move up. I think he's just, I think he's taken too much out of him during these weight cuts, and I think it showed in this fight.
Yeah. I guess. I wouldn't say it, maybe. I don't know. I think Moreno was just that much better. in my opinion. And I think he showed it because, one, I did think he won the first fight. It was such a classic. It was such a contest. And then he tightened some things up, especially in the striking department, dude. And he just showed out in this one. I don't know. I think it could have been the best Figgy we've still seen, and I still think Moreno would have beat him. Especially after last night.
Okay, that's fine. But where would you disagree with me for Figgy moving up?
I don't disagree with that because I did say last week that I think this guy could be dominant at 135 pounds as well.
Yeah.
He is one of the biggest 125ers.
That's where I think he needs to be. Let Moreno do his thing here. I mean, I'd love to see the trilogy fight, but again, like I think Figueiredo's just taking too much out of him. I don't like seeing him. I don't know. He looked flat. He looked really flat that night. He just didn't look good. Not taking away anything away from Moreno, but
you kind of are by saying he didn't show up. You know what I mean?
How?
You're saying he didn't show up. He looked flat, so that kind of is taken away from Moreno's performance.
I'm not taking anything away from him. I literally just said it's a rocky story. I didn't say anything about taking shit away from anyone. It was a beautiful performance. I mean, literally flawless victory, like Mortal Kombat. He went out there, whooped his ass for 2 rounds, submitted him in the 3rd. I'm not taking anything away from Moreno at all. I'm just saying Figgy didn't look good. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a competition. It's mano y mano. You have to go out there and kill or be killed, and that's what Moreno did. I'm not taking shit away from
I think we do need to do the trilogy.
Trilogy,
You know,
I like that.
I can't talk. This nostril shit has got me fucked up. We need to do the trilogy.
You think
we need to do the trilogy. Absolutely. I would love to see Figgy move up to 135 pounds, but if he can make weight, if he's going to make weight without killing himself, he just needs to do it right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we'll put it'll silence everything, you know? I mean, we'll really find out who is the best. Maybe Figueiredo's weight cut did affect him. Who knows? I'm just excited.
I don't know.
Because I would love to see these guys fight 5 times, you know what I mean? So I still think these are the 2 best flyweights in the world.
Yeah, I think Moreno wins the trilogy. I was off. I picked against him twice, but I don't know. I think the weight cut's too much. I would go Moreno in that fight for sure. I think Figgy's got to move up.
All right.
That's just my opinion.
All right. I'm glad I changed my pick because I was saying, man, Figgy was way too emotional coming into that fight. He was getting pissed. He was pushing Moreno at the press conference. And then he came in with a bad weight cut as well. The stars were aligning for Moreno to win that fight. And he showed out and he put on the performance of a lifetime.
Did you see that video of his gym?
Oh, they were freaking out.
Dude,
I loved it. I loved it, dude. It made me so happy. And the emotion the guy showed just to start bawling essentially in the octagon. And you know what? Figgy, you can call him Mystic Mac because he predicted that shit. He kept on saying, I'm going to make you cry, cry, baby. I'm going to make you cry. And he definitely cried at the end of that. Eat your own words, Figgy. That's what I got to say. I got 500 on Moreno. Gave me a nice little return of 775.
Yep, I put 1,000 on Figgy and lost that one.
This is the one I really want to talk about. Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. I wanted to get right into this.
Yeah, bro. I don't know if I've ever been more frustrated watching the end of a fight before. And here's the thing. I like Leon Edwards. I think you know, it's pretty fucking crazy that you can win 9 fights in a row, have 10 fights, win 9 of them, be dominant in the 10th or in the fight against Bilal in the first round. Like, this guy could have potentially won 10 fights in a row, and he's still not the number 1 contender in this division when you got a chump like Colby Covington, who has beat, Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler? After coming off a loss to the champ. Does this make sense to anyone? Nope. I mean, I know Kamaru Usman and him went 5 rounds and it was a great fight, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, dude, we're talking about a guy who's won 9 fights in a row. This is the 2nd consecutive longest streak right now in the UFC. Why is Leon Edwards not the next in line? Can anyone tell me here in this room? Doesn't make any sense to me. And Dana doubled down. Did you guys hear that? At the press conference, he goes, nope, Colby's number 1 contender. He's taking on this fight. I think it's egregious. I think it's one of the stupidest things, and it just pisses me off because Leon Edwards deserves it. I mean, he all but dominated this fight up into that 5th round where he got caught. And absolutely, Nate could have finished the fight. We could be talking about something completely different here. But I just don't understand why these guys don't get a fair shake. I mean, Tabor, you brought it up off air, like before we started. I feel like this is the Tony Ferguson situation where this guy's just got to keep winning and winning and winning until eventually he loses and then he'll never get a shot. It's not fair, man.
Yeah. And I understand from the business perspective. I guess I understand it. Like, who's going to make more money, Colby Covington or Leon Edwards?
Yeah, and I understand
it's Colby, but you know, it doesn't matter. when you're on a fucking 9-fight win streak, it doesn't matter if you're bringing in numbers or not. You're the second best guy in the world.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you had to put Leon Edwards and Colby up against each other, I'm leaning Leon. You know, he's got such good striking and a great wrestling background, great defense. I think he dominates everywhere. Let's talk about this, though. What was up with that game plan with Leon? Was he giving Nate too much respect, or did he know, hey, I want to send a message to Usman and show him I got 5-round cardio and I could dominate 5 straight rounds? Because he pretty much was until he got caught by that big 1-2 by Nate. And before I even move on from there, Nate, what are you doing, my guy? You're about to get the finish and you point at the guy and you try clowning him, you laugh, and then you get in the clinch situations?
It would be one
with
thing.
30 seconds left in the fight?
I just don't get it. It would be one thing if that was like round 1 and he caught him and he saw him stumbling.
Yes.
And then he does that because he's like, bitch, this is only the start of the fight. But it's like you've been dominated for 4 rounds and 4 minutes of the fight. In the last minute, you have an opportunity to finish the fight and you do the point and then the arm thing that he does where he like flexes. And I'm like, bro, you have like 45 seconds now.
So
and then, as you just said, clinched up with him on the fence for the last 30. And I'm like, I just don't understand the strategy, and I don't understand why you wouldn't try to finish. And did you see what he said afterwards? He goes, well, if that would have been a street fight, this guy was sleepwalking.
Yeah, and I would have won. I won that fight.
It's not a street fight. It's not a street fight.
Yeah.
It's a professional MMA 5-round fight. Like, dude, you lost. It doesn't matter if it's a street fight.
The fucked up thing is now he's got clowns in his ear saying, yeah, you won that fight. You won that fight. You almost finished him in the 5th round. And it's like, yeah, but you lost. You got dominated up until then, and then you didn't have the wherewithal to go and actually try and get the finish at the end. Yeah. Instead, you wanted to look cool and try to clown the guy. Well, now you fucking lost, and now you look fucking stupid in the eyes of people that actually know what they're watching. Yeah. All you had to do was just throw a 3 or a 5-piece combination.
Well, he was on Queer Street, bro.
And he was fucked.
Yeah.
You get him up against the fence and you start blasting him with big hands. I mean, people got to talk about Nate Diaz. Yeah, he's got punching power. He almost knocked out the number 3 contender, a big welterweight.
Yeah.
A guy that is not making 155 pounds like Nate used to. So that's impressive in itself. And you don't go for the finish. It was so frustrating. I don't think I've ever been more frustrated watching a fight than I was last night. Yeah. No joke at that.
Well, yeah, we were freaking out here in the studio last night. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why you don't have a better sense of urgency there. It just absolutely blew me away. And I love Nate Diaz. He's a superstar of the sport. I always tune in for this guy fighting. I can't wait for his brother to come back. Yada yada yada, all the talking points. But I just don't understand what the strategy was here and why he didn't try to finish this fight. But I mean, hats off, and we got to get it. I feel like we're talking about Nate more than Leon again. But credit to Leon.
That's the big talking point of that
it
fight.
Is.
And that's how unfortunate is that you're Leon Edwards. You dominate for 4.5 straight rounds, and then you get caught, and then that's all anyone's talking about is you you got caught. It's so sad. It's so unfortunate. The guy's on a 9-fight win streak. He should be the number 1 contender.
Should be.
It's crazy.
And after in the post fight, that was another thing Dana brought up, which actually I take that back. Dana did not bring it up, but it was a question posed to Dana, which he then responded to. But they said, "What do you think about the Leon Edwards Jorge Masvidal?" He goes, "Guys, I don't make matches until Tuesday, but we can always make that fight, and that sounds like a good fight." But it's like, why does Leon have to take another top contender in this division? He's won 9.
He doesn't. He could pull a Colby and just fucking sit.
And just wait. Why the fuck can Colby sit on the sidelines since September of last year, beating a guy who'd already lost 2 straight fights in a row, who was dominated for 10 straight rounds before Colby dominated him? Why can he sit out for a year, but Leon can't for a title shot? You know, it's just like, and he's won 9 fights in a row. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm team Leon Edwards here.
Absolutely.
And it's like Edwards is trying to be active. He had that Bilal incident, which was super unfortunate. So then he takes on a big name like Nate Diaz, wins that fight, dominates the fight for 4.5 rounds. It's like, dude, again, what more can this man do? Does he really now have to go take on another guy who just fought for the belt and lost, Jorge Masvidal, before he gets a shot? He's got to win 10 fights in a row? No, fuck that. I think Leon Edwards can take a year off. He can wait for Colby and Usman, and he needs to be the next guy in line. The same way that Dana White came out and said for Robert Whittaker, no, Robert gets the next shot. He doesn't have to fight again. He should be saying that same shit for Leon Edwards right now, and he's not. And it's egregious. It makes me mad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, gun to your head, do you think that's what happens? Does Leon wait and get the title shot eventually after this Colby-Usman rematch, or do they make the Jorge Masvidal?
They're going to make the whole, I think, well, yeah, that's an interesting question because Nate's coming off a loss now too. I don't know.
I almost say you do Nate Jorge or Nick Jorge, and then you just let Leon chill. I mean, who does Jorge fight then at that point? Conor McGregor? After he gets knocked out by Poirier again?
Yeah. Dude, I don't know.
There's options. There's a lot of options with these guys. And Leon Edwards, he deserves to wait.
Yeah.
Deserves to wait, and I hope he does. I hope he doesn't just take a fight.
Same.
The worst thing ever would be he takes Jorge Masvidal fight, and Jorge lands the luckiest fucking 3-piece in a soda of all 3 pieces in a soda ever thrown, knocks Leon the fuck out. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'd be jacked if it happens. I'd be really jacked.
Well, and it would come full circle, too, from that London card. I mean, think about that, dude. All those years ago. I remember watching that live when they were in London. And, they're backstage, and Jorge Masvidal hits him 3 times, throws a 3-piece in a soda, whatever is what, the famous coined expression. But, yeah, that was wild.
That's the fight that should have been made in the first place. If he had to fight somebody, why Nate Diaz and not Jorge Masvidal? I get it. He was fighting Usman, and that was already scheduled. Usman threw the biggest wrench in the world in this division when he took that fight. Yeah. But that should have been the fight to make. You don't make Bilal Muhammad or Leon Edwards versus Khamzat Chimaev. No. Like, I'm sorry. If there's anyone that he should have fought, it should have been the 3-piece in the soda in the first place. Jorge never takes that fight. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate. So Nate Diaz, he did lose. And everyone's saying no matter what, people are giving so much respect to him. People keep on saying win, lose, or draw. Nate Diaz is a legend. He's the man. Yeah. He always shows
He's a draw.
out.
And he's 100% who he is.
Yes.
There's no fluff. And that's even the thing with Nate Diaz. And that's why I don't hate the guy. That's why I'm mad at the fact that he didn't try to finish, but that's just who Nate is. He's just he's like that street fighter that, anytime, anywhere. I mean, did you guys watch that? I forget who the fighter was, but where they were fighting, him and Nick were fighting in the hospital after their fight.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, it's like a giant. It was a story on one of the ESPN Plus, and I watched it via Facebook when they posted on ESPN, and I was like, dude, these Diaz bros are just crazy, but they're legit 100% who they are.
They're authentic.
Yep, that's totally authentic. But what do we do for Nate Diaz now? I got to be honest. Jorge Masvidal coming off a loss, Nate Diaz coming off a loss. Let's do the BMF belt or McGregor. After he loses to Poirier, I like that. And then you could do the Nate and Conor trilogy and then do Jorge Nick for the BMF belt. I like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hit us up, UFC. I know Sean Shelby, he's getting his work. But, sometimes you need some fresh faces in there making matches. And, we got our shit together.
We do.
Nate versus Tony at 170. Okay, Aunt W. You're going off the rails, and I absolutely fucking love it. I would love to see that. Would you not? At 170 pounds, Nate versus Tony? Sign me the fuck up.
I know, but we were just talking about how Tony, we didn't even want to see him fight anyone in the top 15.
Yeah, but Nate Diaz I think that's a little different.
Yeah, I'm not that stoked for that one, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I'm really not. Not. I'm just, yeah. I think I want to see Tony in the win column, and I don't want to see Nate in losing another fight either. So it's that's kind of a lose-lose for me as a fan, and I just don't want to see that right now for both their careers. So I'd rather give a fresher face to Tony and then let Nate take one of those big fights like Conor or Jorge.
I don't know. I think both of these guys are on the tail ends of their careers. I think they only have a couple fights left.
For sure.
This is a big money fight, in my opinion. So, if you're ever going to want to make a big money fight, big payday for both guys, a main event of a fight night on ABC, that might be the one. I would totally be A-okay with that. I think we should move on, though. Let's go to Damian Maia, Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah, this one, Damian Maia, again, being 43 years old, it's just, it's time for him to retire. But the thing is this is not a career like a BJ Penn or some of these other guys or Cowboy situation where they've lost so many fights in a row. Damian Maia was very competitive all the way through 2019, won 3 straight fights, lost in 2020, and then loses this fight. So he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's 43 years old. He doesn't have the same strength. He's not able to take guys down the same way he used to, and that's okay. Father Time is undefeated. And I think Bilal had the right strategy here. He was very smart, very calculated. It wasn't the most entertaining and fun fight, but Bilal did exactly what he had to do to ensure that the ground game would not be implemented by Damian Maia. And he went there and he stood with them and he exchanged and he won those exchanges and won on all three judges' scorecards. So Bilal, remember the name Muhammad. There you go, kids. That's how this breakdown works for me.
Yeah, the takedown defense is absolutely immaculate from Bilal because Maia had so many chances to take him down. And when he did take him down, Bilal got right back up.
Yep.
That's something that nobody has really shown at 170 pounds unless you're the elite of the elite against Damian Maia. You have to be the elite of the elite to just survive that and to survive it for 3 rounds straight. So much credit to Bilal Muhammad. What do we do with him? I know he was hoping that Nate Diaz would have finished Leon because he really wants that rematch.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's a very good fight. I thought Leon was completely dominating until then. You know what I say? Bilal Muhammad versus either Neil Magny, Chiesa, Luque, or you know what really screams at me? It's a lower matchup. You might not want it, but it screams at me. Santiago Ponzinibbio.
I like that one. I like Santiago, but I think for Bilal though, I like the Neil Magny matchup the best. I got to be honest here. I think him and Neil Magny match up stylistically really well, and I think that would be a very fun fight. You could either co-main or main that for a fight night.
Yeah, I think a name that really sticks out as well is Jorge Masvidal, but you know Jorge's not taking that.
Jorge's not taking that.
Jorge's not taking that. He's taking a Nick Diaz, a Nate Diaz, or a Conor McGregor, and then he is riding the fuck off. I don't think we ever see this guy really competing.
No,
for contendership.
The only problem with Neil is Neil already took on Jeff Hands of Steel, and just won that fight, and he just fought a lower ranked guy than him. I don't think he's going to take an even lower ranked guy with Bilal Muhammad. However, Damian Maia was number 9, so I wonder how many slots Bilal will move up.
He should be top 10. He should be at least 10 or 9.
I think he should take the 9 spot.
Yeah,
I think he deserves it.
A big fight, in my opinion, is probably Chiesa. Chiesa's probably the biggest one, but Chiesa is another one of these welterweights that is sitting around waiting for a high-profile fight to fall into him. I mean, yeah, he called out Colby, and Colby isn't taking the fight. Colby's waiting. He's getting the title shot, which is unfortunate because him and Chiesa is a great matchup, and that's probably a fight they should have made already.
I like the Chiesa-Vicente Luque matchup, man.
Ooh.
I like that one.
I like that as well.
I think that's the one we got to make.
Yeah, or a loser of the Thompson-Burns fight.
Yeah.
If Burns loses,
if he wants to wait that long.
Yeah, if Wonder Boy comes out and shows out and wants to fight, well, lucky for him, Burns wants to fight a lot. He's a pretty active guy. So, I mean, if he fights Burns off of a loss, fuck, I'd love to see those jiu-jitsu scrambles. Yeah, there's a lot of options for Bilal. Bilal versus Hamza. Bilal needs a big fight to build a fan base. He will get more attention for beating Hamza than he would beating guys like Chiesa or
That's
Magny.
a rough matchup.
That's a rough fucking matchup, true. Yeah, I think Hamza dominates that fight.
Yeah, very well could.
I mean, they were going to give Hamza a Leon Edwards, which is crazy because he's unranked and he's only had fucking, 2 fights in the division? Not even, I think 1, actually. It's so crazy. 1 fight in the division. They're just like, yeah, here's number 3 in the world. They're really building that. But, I agree. You can do that fight in Palestine. Shit, that'd be the biggest fight ever.
Yeah?
Just gets bombed instantly.
Oh.
Sorry. I couldn't help myself. That was a terrible joke. But it's relevant.
Paul Craig, Jamal Hill. We are moving on, folks. Wow. I think the craziest news of the night was that Jamal Hill's arm was not broken, which is insane. It was just dislocated.
Where did it must have popped out of his socket, his shoulder, right?
Yeah, well,
or was it his elbow?
It had to have been the elbow because the judge went to go grab his arm, and he moves his arm, and I saw the bone pop this way, and he was like, "No, I need to hold my arm," and then the camera zoomed in just on Paul Craig. But yeah, that's insane. That arm was not broken; it was just dislocated. Did anyone here think that was not an arm break?
I thought it snapped.
Yeah,
it looked like it did. He bent it completely backwards, and then it looked like he tapped. And the ref just no, didn't see nothing.
Well, and then when you see an arm flailing like that, I'm like,
yeah, it looked like he was tapping with his dead arm.
But I guess all the reporters there at the post fight told Dana that he's like the Arizona version of Mazzucatti. Remember that ref that he fucking hated in the UFC that eventually he said could never officiate another UFC fight again?
Yeah, I didn't even know. Who was that ref? Because it definitely wasn't
he was a local guy.
That's why.
But I guess the guy's got a black belt, that ref. I guess he's...
Yeah, that's why. He's like, yeah, I don't tap the shit like that. You shouldn't either, my
His
guy.
arms flailing around. I'm like, bro, I think he's done. I think we can definitively call this fight.
So crazy. Fucking Paul Craig's a savage, dude. And like we said in our breakdown, if it goes down to the ground, Paul Craig's going to submit him. And that's all it took. He just had to get a hand of that fucking arm. And it was over, man. It was so crazy. It was nasty. It was kind of disturbing to watch. I'm shocked it didn't end. It should have been. It looked like he's tried tapping multiple times. I feel bad for Hill because Hill, he didn't want to be there eating those extra shots. I felt bad for the guy. I really did. But Paul Craig, he is now stringing fights together, and he just defeated an undefeated guy. Where do we go with him in this light heavyweight division? I say a ranked matchup. Why?
Well, Jamal Hill was
not?
15, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Paul Craig's 14, so go ahead.
You go Jimmy Crute. You got Johnny Walker's going to fight Thiago Santos. You could do the winner or the loser of that fight. Anthony Smith is out there. You got Reyes, Magomed Ankalaev.
Bro, we are not going that high with Paul Craig yet.
But Ankalaev, though? Ankalaev? That's a fucking matchup.
Well, it's a matchup, but not a very favorable matchup for Paul Craig, being that Ankalaev can take your head off with one swing.
And he could dominate you on the ground as well.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Jimmy Crute, the only issue with that is obviously he just blew out his
knees.
His knees. So, yeah, knees probably.
Yeah.
He was just wobbling around in the. But I like Sirkunov.
Or Krylov, or Ozdemir.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozdemir hasn't fought since he fought Jiri Prochazka, so I mean that's a matchup as well. There's the lucky thing about this light heavyweight division is
it's the wild west.
It's great. Yeah. Craig already beat Ankalaev. I think. Oh my goodness, let's look this up. That's worth a Google. Yeah, I love it. I love the light heavyweight division. I mean, we have things moving at the top. I still don't think they've announced the Jan versus Glover fight. Have they? Pretty sure it's in September or something.
Yeah, they announced that. I believe it's either August or September.
Yeah, I just don't think it's official. I think they announced that like it's kind of verbal, but I don't know if
it's like the Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier
absolutely, absolutely unfortunate. Yeah, I can't wait for it. Paul Craig, he's a good guy, and he's super competitive. So many people kind of count this guy out so much, but I mean, he's only 15-4. He's got a pretty good record, and he's moving up, and he's dominating guys that I didn't give him credit for. I really thought Hill was going to come in and put a striking show on, and it didn't happen. Craig's on a win streak, dude.
Yeah, he is.
Craig is on a legit streak right now. He has the one draw. He did beat Magomed Ankalaev by submission. Oh, my goodness. This was 2 years ago. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, wild. Good for him. Good for the Bear Jew. I love seeing stuff like that happen. I love that nickname. I love it. Stick with it, Craig. Stick with it.
All right, Drew Duber.
Dubes versus Riddell.
We know his name's
fucking fight this was.
Yeah.
What a fucking fantastic fight.
Back and forth.
Who won the first round? Because I feel like every round was pretty tightly contested. You could give Riddell the third for sure. The second was pretty close. Who won the first?
I don't know, man. I think Duber obviously had the craziest moment, and he definitely caught Riddell. But then Riddell unloaded on him in that final minute.
Yeah, in the final minute, and could have stolen the round because of it.
I think it could have went either way in that round, but I'm not mad with it. I mean, Riddell looked great, and I think deserved to win that fight. I think he did. At the end of the day, I thought he did more than Drew Dober. I really do. It was a close, contested fight. It was a great way to open up this pay-per-view too for the main event prelim. This was an awesome fight. So. Hats off to both, both boys. I mean, this is great. I mean, it kind of sucks for Drew now coming off a 2-fight skid, Islam Makhachev and now Brad Riddell. But, I mean, you don't have too much to be upset about. Those are two great fighters. Yeah,
Brad Riddell is an up-and-coming guy in this 155-pound division. Since he moved up to 155, he has looked absolutely fantastic. I can't believe he used to cut weight to 145. Yeah. Absolutely crazy, in my opinion. And one thing I totally forgot to bring up in the Israel fight, he dedicated that win to Fau Vake, the young fighter who died recently after an assault in New Zealand. He trained out of city kickboxing. So for both of these guys to get a win, it's good for the camp. It's good for them. And I'm just so happy for them all. And I hope only the best happens for them.
So, Drew Dober was ranked number 13 in the world. So, I mean, Riddell's got to be ranked now. We got to throw him in the rankings. He's got to be a top 15 guy now at 10-1. And again, a very big win for all those guys over at City Kickboxing. So, shout out to Riddell.
Here's the matchup. Gregor Gillespie Yep.
I'd like to see Gregor Gillespie go up, though, man. I'm very impressed with Gregor. I'd rather see. How about Diego Ferreira coming off the loss? Kevin Lee's got a fight. Islam Makhachev.
Kevin Lee's at 70. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Lee is at 70. That's right.
Sorry, God, I'm dying right now. Unless it's like a Tony Ferguson or an RDA, Dan Hooker, like that might be too much because the guy isn't ranked.
Yeah.
Thiago Moises is fighting Islam. Islam needs a big fight. I mean, just watch. He's going to end up fighting Islam next because no one's going to take that fight.
Right.
It's unfortunate. I say Gregor Gillespie. Why not? Let's get Gregor one more big, ranked fight before he moves into the top 5, before he challenges like a Justin Gaethje off a loss, or say Beneil Dariush loses his next fight, or a Michael Chandler, Tony, Connor, something like that. He needs one more big win to really catapult himself into the top 5, and I think a win over a guy like Brad Riddell might do it.
Okay. All right. Should we jump into it?
Let's do it. All right, MMA news time. There's actually more than I thought. I didn't think there'd be that much this week, but I think we got to start here. Did you see the Clarissa Shields fight?
I saw the finish. I did not watch the whole fight in its entirety, but I did watch her dominate and finish that fight. And she is now undefeated as a boxer and undefeated as a mixed martial artist.
1-0, baby. 1-0. That's how it all starts.
It's pretty impressive.
One fight at a time. It's all it takes. And she did good because she got dominated the first 2 rounds, I believe, on the ground. Kind of girl took her down, laid on top of her, and she couldn't get up. But then to have the wherewithal in the third to get the finish when you're down 2 rounds, only the wish the best. And she finished her with ground and pound, pretty nasty ground and pound. So to see a world-class boxer finish a female on the ground, it's very, very impressive. I can't wait to see what she does in this 155-pound division in the PFL. It's very interesting. I wonder if she could make 145, though, to see her in the UFC one day. Yeah,
one day. I mean, give her a few years. Give her some time to develop. I think kind of the same way with a lot of these fighters in the PFL. But, yeah, I mean, very impressive for your first fight. I mean, hats off to her. I'm excited to see where she's going to go in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. This year, she is technically not in the contention for the belt because they have their league set up. So this was a showcase fight. But, next year she might be in the league. And if she's in the league and she could dominate and win $1 million, that'd be her biggest payday. She says she does not make money in boxing. She had every title she could have fought for and still did not make good money in boxing.
It's so wild because, I mean, you always hear about these fighters making a shit ton of money in boxing, but the women's boxing just must not be as big. It must just be like, the WNBA to NBA.
Essentially, because, I mean, she literally had every title she could have fought for.
And that's the thing with mixed martial arts is they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm excited for her. I'm excited for her career. If she shows out, I could definitely see her competing in the UFC one day, especially if she wins a PFL belt. I mean... Could you imagine a world-class boxer, someone with fantastic striking, competing with Amanda Nunes? Mm-hmm. I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. But Amanda, I mean, I hope Clarissa is working on her takedown defense because, especially after this fight, after getting taken down and dominated for a little bit, that's what every girl is going to be going for. Yep. The immediate takedown because they're not going to want to stand on the feet with a world-class boxer like her. All right, let's move on to some other MMA news.
I am so shocked you put this one in the notes.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. It was rough this week for MMA news. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you didn't get to talk about it last week. No. So let's talk about it. Obviously the expedition match between Logan Paul and Floyd Money Mayweather. Did you watch this fight?
No, I didn't pay for it either.
Well, I didn't pay for it, but I may have seen bits and pieces, allegedly.
I saw highlights.
Yeah, highlights. There we go.
I saw
highlights of this fight.
Yeah. It didn't look entertaining, man.
Yeah,
It didn't look entertaining at all. It looked like Floyd was dancing around. And then I don't know why the fuck Paul started unloading some horrible shots. It looked like Paul was just like, fuck it, I'm going to throw all that training right out the window, just start throwing wild haymakers and stuff. And Floyd was eating them and then landed a nice right hand, dropped Logan and kind of held him up so the fight wouldn't get stopped. It actually looked like Logan Paul got finished pretty, I'd say like 4th round, 5th round. And Floyd held him up. It was easy as that. He literally held him up so he wouldn't stop the fight, and they both walked away with giant bags. I feel like we all got played.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't get played because we all knew that's what was going to happen.
We didn't pay for
well,
it,
right, yeah. But I mean, like, I felt like everyone knew that was going to happen. Like, I think there is some sort of hidden agreement, and I'm not saying these guys colluded together by no stretch of the imagination, but there is this unwritten rule, right? Like, hey, man, Floyd, you're going to make $100 million. Just don't make me look silly. That's it. Just don't make look. We'll hype it up. I'll have my little brother steal your hat. You'll get mad about it. But look, man, you're going to make $100 million. I'm going to make $20 million. We're going to have a good time. We're going to go out there for 8 rounds. It's an expedition match, so this is not going against your personal record. Like, I didn't feel played because I kind of knew what this was, you know? And it is what it is. Like, for the people who were entertained and bought it and enjoyed their time, then cool. But for me, I could not justify spending $50 on an expedition match. And it's kind of a freak show, too, because, I mean, you're talking about Logan Paul, who's 50 pounds heavier than this guy, who's got a reach advantage of, like, over a foot. You're talking about Floyd Money Mayweather, dude. This guy's like, what, 140, 145 pounds against a guy who's 200 pounds and Logan Paul, who cut weight and was still 50 pounds heavier than this guy? I mean, goodness gracious, what a freak show. I mean, so it is what it is. I just don't really know what else I can say or what else needs to be said outside of, obviously Floyd Money Mayweather won that fight. He won 7 out of those 8 rounds. And it is what it is.
It is what it is.
The biggest talking point out of all of this is that Francis Ngannou came out afterwards and said, what are we doing wrong? I mean, that was $1 million. That was 1 million pay-per-view buys, apparently. That fight. He goes, what are we doing wrong in MMA? The only people pulling $1 million is Conor. The only people pulling that kind of numbers is him, and there's a reason why they're paying him $30 million a fight.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that the UFC fighters are doing wrong unless they wanted to start their own channel and have the following that Logan Paul has, and that's the thing is like kids are not interested in the UFC.
You just hit the fucking nail on the head, my guy. It's because these guys are not promoting themselves the way that the Paul brothers have. Right. You know, if they had YouTube channels, if they had a massive social media following, they would be pulling these types of numbers. Name a UFC fighter that does vlogs or has a YouTube channel.
I can't.
Israel Adesanya.
Ah,
he is the one. He just fucking got a YouTube channel. I think he has 200,000 or 300,000 subs already. He literally just started it.
There it is.
He's being smart because he knows that these fucking new fans, he will get young kids on YouTube to click like, and eventually they're going to go, yeah, I want to see what this guy actually does in the octagon and having no idea who this guy is because he's playing video games and stuff like that. That's what it is, bro. These fighters need to start promoting themselves more. And I agree. Yes, they need to get paid more by the organization. But at the same time, you want to get paid more, especially in the way the model is built right now. Until they change it, until that number of 18% goes up, it's not going to happen. They need to promote themselves better, in my opinion. And until they get paid more, it is what it is, really, when it comes to that. And I think Israel's smart for doing that. He's literally the only guy I can think of. I can't think of another guy that is doing that. Either I can't. There isn't one. There isn't one. So it's either that or you fucking retire from the UFC right now, hope that you get out of the contract and you go box. I mean, I know Francis was saying he wants to box Tyson Fury.
But I mean, that's never going to happen because you look at a guy like GSP and he's not even able to get out of his contract with the UFC because Dana White is not going to allow it.
That's so unfortunate. I really don't like that. I really, really don't like that.
Well, I kind of don't like the fact that GSP wants to go box someone.
No, but if he wants to, he should be able to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree with that.
He shouldn't have to ask the UFC for his permission when the guy's retired. Like, just release the guy. Let him do whatever he wants, but they won't. And it's unfortunate in that sense.
They will not. All right, let's move on. Colby Covington remains #1 contender, according to Dana White. We kind of already talked about that. So we talked about that earlier. So let's just talk. Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo is confirmed for UFC 266, which is the same card as Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That'll be set to be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, and if Andrade can get the win over a top contender, I mean, I'm not going to say she's going to get thrown right back to Valentina, but I mean, she strings a couple wins together, you're going to have to go, okay, why not? Yeah. Let's do the rematch. Valentina's going to have to start doing round 2 with a lot of these girls eventually.
Well, okay, and that's kind of the thing right now in this flyweight division. So Cynthia Calvillo's #5. Lauren Murphy just beating Joanne Calderwood last night. It was on a prelim. She's got to be next. So, I mean, that leaves Caitlin Chikagian again and Jennifer Maia. So you could make an argument for Chikagian as she has strung together a couple wins. But outside of that, man, I don't want to see the Jennifer Maia rematch. So I think the winner of Andrade and Calvillo, fights Valentina again after Chikagian.
Yeah.
I mean, this division is just depleted because Valentina is just so much better than everyone.
Yeah, let's see what happens with new contenders. I mean, you got Miranda Maverick is going to come fight Macy Barber, so the winner of that fight's probably clamoring for a top 10, top 5 matchup. You have new names that are up and coming, but I mean, it's just, I think the writing's on the wall. We see that these girls aren't nearly on the level, especially because when they're young, they just don't have the experience that Valentina Shevchenko has. She's been fighting almost 20 years now or something like that. Yeah. It's crazy.
She was fighting out of the womb, bro. She's wrestling alligators, grizzly bears, polar bears. This woman, she's the toughest girl on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And until someone can prove themselves that they could compete on that level and just completely dominate some of these girls the way that she has, I'm going to stick with Valentina every single time.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over this one because I want to talk about it last. But let's talk about this Overeem. So Alistair Overeem obviously got released from the UFC.
This is crazy.
He signs with Glory Kickboxing and a multi-fight contract deal with Glory Kickboxing. How crazy is this? So he's going back to his roots.
Yeah.
Kickboxing. I think he had, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think he had like almost 100 fights as a kickboxer.
Something like that.
He had a lot of fights, man. This guy's fought in so many times.
Did you ever see him in the Badr Hari fight? Or Badr Hari? I don't know how to fucking say his name. Badr Hari, I think. Just got flatlined.
Yeah.
Just got flatlined. It's one of these things. I feel like every time we talk about a guy that's fighting way past his prime, it's like, I get it. It's the money. It's got to be the money.
Yeah.
We need to be setting ourselves up for success after fighting, guys, because unfortunately you can't fight forever. And, we'll see if Uberim comes back and they're just like, just do all the steroids in the world.
Going to let him do that.
Do testosterone replacement therapy. Do it all. We don't give a fuck. Then maybe he's probably really competitive. I just don't see it happening. Some of these guys are just completely elite. And when you're especially talking about just kickboxing purely, Uberim's been, look at Overeem's defense when it comes to takedowns. His wrestling has gotten so much better. He would dominate people on the ground his last few MMA fights. And now you're going into kickboxing.
Yep.
I'd love to see it. I'll probably watch his next couple fights. Let's see what happens. It's Overeem. You got one. It's just one of these guys you like. Everyone likes. You got to root for him, kind of. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to be the most competitive, unfortunately.
Well, the crazy thing is I actually like kickboxing a lot. I know, right? I've been meaning to watch more of it in Glory because they actually put on great fights.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it's not as popular in the States as it is like in Europe. Europe, kickboxing is the shit. Mm-hmm. It's huge over there, and it is so much more entertaining.
It's just the marketing is not good in the States for kickboxing. Have you ever seen a Glory advertisement? At least Bellator, at least PFL, at least UFC advertise. I don't see any advertisements here in the U.S. at all for Glory Kickboxing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you ever seen like mass ads or mass
you're definitely
marketing?
Not wrong.
It's really bad. I think if they marketed better.
I've seen maybe one commercial for a Badr Hari fight.
Yeah.
That was it. I think he was fighting Rico Van Hooven, another savage. There are so many savage kickboxer world champions that, I'd love to see him in the octagon. Let's see if that translates. Probably doesn't. They've never wrestled in their lives, but it's interesting in my opinion. I'd love to see it. I don't know if you give him Uberim, who does he fight? Does he just go straight to Rico Van Hooven and start fighting Badr Hari again? Do you ever think he hits that echelon elite level in kickboxing?
Maybe. I definitely want to see a warm-up fight first. I don't want to throw him to the wolves immediately in his first kickboxing match because it is different.
Hooven right off the bat.
But yeah, I know. Just fucking head kicks into oblivion.
So unfortunate.
Does another fucking Ngannou situation except with a kick. Yeah, no, I'm happy for Overeem, and this guy obviously loves fighting. He has almost 100 fights on his record, so good for him. I'm glad he found a new home, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got to talk about this because I know how much you love Michael Bisping.
I love the guy.
Believe, achieve. Shut the fuck up. One of the greatest things ever when Luke Rockhold's talking about his book or whatever that he reads. You want to hand me one of those waters too? Oh, never mind. You're busy.
I'm sorry. What do you need?
A water. But nonetheless, did you see this? So Michael Bisping and Luke Rockhold were training together, and all they post is one thing, and they say trilogy. And it's them training together in the gym. I think this is cool. I really like this. When guys retire, they can let bygones be bygones, because let's not kid ourselves. These two fucking hated each other. So the fact that they could get together and roll around on the mats and have a good time and, take some photos and be cordial with each other after retirement for Bisping. I think Luke's still fighting. I don't know. Haven't seen him for a while.
He says he wants to come back. He keeps talking shit, says he's a bad matchup for Israel. I mean, something every guy has said. Look at Chris Weidman said it.
Yeah.
Luke has said it. I'm not going to admit it.
Okay,
don't worry about that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because Luke's training with Perillo now. So they've seen each other multiple times. I remember seeing on Instagram when Bisping first went back and saw Luke there. He's like, hey, Luke, what's up? And he's like, he's got Luke Rockhold's dog in his arm. And he's petting his dog. And he's like, guess whose dog this is, guys? This is Luke Rockhold's dog. What should I do? Yeah. So funny. He just fucks the dog up.
But I thought it was really cool to see him rolling around, messing around, having fun.
Yeah, I like
high-fiving.
it.
It's
I like
cool,
it.
man.
It is cool. You don't want to see these guys hate each other forever.
No. And you know what else is really cool? Chael Sonnen on him and Anderson are good friends now, too. He's done a few interviews with the Anderson, so I like to see that. I don't want to see these guys hate each other forever. I mean, they're obviously alpha males. They're competitors, but when you retire, you let bygones be bygones, right?
Yeah, I'd love to have Luke Rockhold on the Believe You Me podcast.
That'd be great.
It'd be so
That'd
funny.
be hilarious.
And Luke, I like Luke Rockhold, but he's just kind of comes off as douchey, tries acting cool, and it's so obvious. I'd love to see that dynamic on the podcast because Michael would clown his ass, and they'd be right back to fighting each other.
Yep. Yeah, probably. They'd go right back to
duking it right there. Yeah. God, I'd laugh.
And we actually would get the trilogy. God, all right. Well, that's all we got for MMA news. Let's move on.
More.
What?
Aunt W asked you guys a questions in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, what's up?
Very top.
Oh, did you see where Francis said he isn't interested in fighting Lewis and wants John Jones, also supports John Jones asking for more money? Seems like they are working together behind the scenes. That's all fun and games, and that's all great, but I mean, Dana doesn't want to pay either of the men. So it doesn't matter if they're working together unless they force Dana's hand. And how do you do that? You just say, hey, I'm not fighting unless it's John Jones, and it's unless I get $10 million and John Jones gets 15.
Well, that's kind of the thing, too. I mean, Dana White in the post-fight said literally, he goes, no. He goes, Lewis is next, and maybe John can figure his shit out after that. That's literally what he said. So it's like, I don't understand, or I don't see, I guess, to phrase this better, I don't see where they're going to be able to negotiate for more money. If Dana says it kind of goes. I mean, what are they going to do? Just not fight? Is Ngannou just going to not fight?
That's the thing. It's like, it would take something like that. It would take Ngannou going, okay, I'm going to sit. And then Dana, Dana's such a hard ass. He's going to be like, okay, we're going to do interim title fight. Yep. Stipe versus fucking Lewis.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I don't want to see that happen.
No,
as much as I love Stipe and I'd love to get him, for sure, the next rematch and an interim title would do that. I just don't want to see it. One, I'm not interested in that matchup. And two, it's like, why? Just pay him, please.
I know.
Just pay him. I don't know. It's so weird. I'd love to see the numbers. Like, if they showed everyone, hey, here's the line items, and this is why the fighter pay is what it is, because we aren't making the money that the media is saying.
Do you think it's personal with Dana? Because he's had such a tumultuous, awful relationship with John Jones for the last 8 to 10 years. Do you think this is a little personal for Dana, where he's like, you know what? Fuck you, kid. I don't want to pay you. You fucked me over not once, but twice with your stupid bullshit antics of doing cocaine, hitting a pregnant lady. You fucked up so many of my main events, and now you want more money after I'm the one who allowed you to make millions of more dollars after fucking up twice? Do you think it's personal for Dana?
I think the easy answer is yes, but unfortunately in this case, I don't think so. I think it's just business. I think business isn't as maybe business isn't as booming as we think it is. I mean, it has to be, right? Are these not some of the most successful years the UFC has ever had? That's what we hear every time. Yet the fighter pay isn't getting better.
Right.
I just think it's business, man. I think he just doesn't want to pay these guys what they're really worth. And I think that's just, it is what it is when it comes to that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
I think Aunt W's got a hot take here. He says Francis is going to mess around and go into the Lewis fight unmotivated and get beat.
That would be so unfortunate.
It would be so unfortunate for the heavyweight division, period. I mean, that throws away the John Jones fight. That throws away the Stipe matchup trilogy fight. I mean, that would really just throw a wrench into this whole heavyweight division.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
you never know.
Lewis is that dark horse that's literally like, if he were to win that fight, it would screw everything up in the heavyweight division.
I mean, technically, he has the win over Francis already, so.
Yeah. That's well, yeah. I know it's so bad. You almost want to erase
I know.
it. So I
never
guess
want to
you
remember that
could
fight.
do the trilogy too of that one. So maybe it doesn't quite throw in the wrench. Yeah.
And W, shout out to you, my guy. You're always coming in with the hot takes and good questions. I did see your question earlier, and I feel like we've talked about it so much now, and it's like eventually I just got to stop repeating myself. They're not going to get paid, and it's super unfortunate. They're going to do Lewis. He's going to pay Francis, I think, what, $700K, something like that. Francis should be getting 1.2, 1.3 million every fight.
Who, Ngannou?
Maybe more.
Oh yeah, I guarantee he
Maybe
gets
more.
that.
I get it. He probably does 500,000 pay-per-views if he's lucky. You know, because John Jones used to only pull in 700K pay-per-views.
Who, Ngannou?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know about that.
Maybe more. Is Africa
I'd like
buying
to
pay-per-views?
see-
How does that pay-per-view model? I mean,
Well,
you'd think-
hopefully in August with Cardano, they'll start buying it. I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
It's okay. It's okay.
But no, I mean, that is a good question. I don't know how much Ngannou's pay-per-views do.
It's an interesting one. I mean, you look back at John Jones, historically, he does about 700K a pay-per-view. You know, and that's when he fought Anthony Smith, which wasn't the biggest, most hyped fight ever. Everyone was big into it, but he still pulled in 700. I'd love to know what the Santos fight did. Maybe he did more. Maybe he almost broke 1 million. But I mean, that guy was getting what? 2 to 3, 4 million a fight with that? So, I mean, what is Ngannou's numbers? Unless he's only doing 200,000, 300,000 pay-per-views, which is, I know, kind of comparable to a Max Holloway, who definitely wasn't getting $1 million a fight. It's interesting. If Ngannou's base pay is 700K with pay-per-view on top of that, you know, he could be getting $1 million a fight. But when you got a fight like John Jones, like, does he deserve $5 or $6 million for that?
Yeah, you're right. I don't even see Ngannou on the top charts for pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, it's got
kinda
to be.
reality
It's got to
check,
be
man.
200,000. It's got to be 300,000. I just don't think these guys are as well known, and they should be.
UFC 220, which was 2018, only did 380.
That was a Stipe
Thousand.
Ngannou one fight,
Yes,
and I was
it
so
was.
fucking hyped for that. I was so fucking hyped for that. I thought they killed their promotion for that fight, and it still only did 200K buys.
That's
Wild.
crazy. Only 380. huh?
The casuals run this market, and I think that's the unfortunate thing. Is because when the casuals show up, that's when the big paydays happen. When Nate Diaz fans show up, when Conor McGregor fans show up, they need casuals on board. And until we get more casuals in the sport, I think the pay will never change. I think it'll be this model until we're averaging 1 million pay-per-view.
Yeah,
buys.
that's just so unfortunate. Wow,
It is.
I did not realize it was that low.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. You got champions like Max Holloway who could barely bring in 200K
Man,
buys. And Max Holloway was electric, dynamic, one of the greatest 145 champions we've ever seen.
yeah.
And he still wasn't bringing in the pay-per-view buys. It sucks. It really does.
Yeah, this chart's very interesting, though. I'm going to go through all these because this is just wild. I would have never thought that. Not in a million years, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. All right, it's time. Let's go into a preview show. This is a card that I'm actually pretty hyped for. Is it the greatest main event we've ever seen? I don't know. It could be set up for a banger, though, because you know it's going to be on the feet. Dan Ige, Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. 1, does this fight go all 5 rounds? And 2, if it doesn't, who do you see getting the nudge?
Well, first and foremost, I love this matchup. I think this is the best matchup to make, especially after Chan Sung Jung's coming off his last loss. And the Vegas odd makers have this at an even -110. This is the literal definition of a pick'em fight. And I think this does go all 5 rounds. I think this could have the potential of being a top 5 fight of this year in 2021. I think these guys are going to take it everywhere. I think we might see a little bit of grappling. I think we'll see some takedowns, some jiu-jitsu in place, and a lot of striking. I really like Chan Sung Jung here. I know you're big on Dan Ige. He's your boy, as you often say. But I'm going big in on Chan Sung Jung. I'm putting 3,000 church coin on the Korean Zombie for the win.
Wow, going all out for the guy.
sir.
I get it. I mean, this is a pick'em fight, -110 to -110.
I really like those odds, too.
I really like them as well. And the way Chan Sung Jung just got completely dismantled by Brian Ortega, now Dan Ige has got a great playbook to go by.
Yep.
He's got the blueprints now to beat him. It's just whether or not he can implement that style, because
you don't really get the jiu-jitsu threat from Dan Ige that you get from a Brian Ortega. But I think you get more of a wrestling one with Dan Ige. Dan Ige's got fantastic wrestling, and he's got a fantastic ground game. I mean, this guy rolls with some of the best people in the world. He rolls with Kamaru Usman. He rolls with Khabib. He rolls with Islam Makhachev. He is one of these guys' boys. So, very underrated ground game. An underrated striking game, I would say, especially after getting pieced up by Calvin Kattar. This is set up to be a fantastic fight. I'm not going to say it's going to be a fight of the year contender, but would I be shocked if it was? If this is a 5-round fucking war, tightly contested every round? No, I would not be shocked. I'm going with Dan Ige, like you said. He is my boy. He's my boy. And I like him a lot. Can he do the same thing Brian Ortega did? If he can, I'm going with Dan Ige all day. Unanimous decision, 3-2. But Dan Ige does not show up early. Or how many fights have we seen where he shows out in the first round and then completely gets dismantled in the second and has to come and throw together a comeback victory in the third? Now it's 5 rounds. If you get pieced up for 2 rounds straight, it only makes it harder because, one, your cardio is depleted by then. Now you got to show out in the third, fourth, and fifth, and you're fighting a guy with Korean Zombie who's got knockout power. It's crazy. I think this is a great matchup. I think this is a great main event, and I can't wait. Dan Ige, I'm going to throw 2,000 church coin on him.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the co-main event. Alexei Oleinik, Sergey Spivak. This one's easy. I'm going with the boa constrictor. He's a plus 180 right now to a minus 220 in Sergey Spivak. Sergey Spivak's an up-and-coming guy, though, in this heavyweight division. He could easily beat an Alexei Oleinik, but if it goes down to the ground, it's one of these things, man. They call him the boa constrictor for a fucking reason. He finds ways to get submissions when no one else can. And he's got such crazy squeeze. I mean, I've never seen anyone get a head and arm choke while they're in mount. It's like, that's something you just don't do. You could literally be mounted and about to range shots on this guy, and he'll still choke you the fuck out. It's crazy. It's absolutely
pretty impressive.
insane. It's
especially
so impressive.
at his age, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many fights does the man have? He's had fucking like 70 fights or
70,
something.
yeah,
like
75 fights, I thought.
So crazy. And his win streak is a 59-15.
Yep.
What?
Very impressive.
Wild. Alexei Oleinik, I'm going to throw 200 church coin on him. The boa constrictor is going to come through for me. I know it.
Yeah, I just think he's a little past his prime, and this Spivak guy is good. He's a young up-and-comer, as you said. He just beat Jared not too long ago, who just came out, May 22nd or whatever, and beat Tafa. But Spivak beat him pretty decisively. I like the favorite here at a minus 220. I am putting 540. I'm putting 540 church coin on Spivak for the win.
Yeah, I'm rubbing off. On you, man. Now you're fucking your words up, too.
Oh, yeah.
I just constantly do it. Constantly. All right, Tim Mees, Danny Roberts. I'm actually excited for this fight. This is going to be a scrap. Tim Mees has got the experience. He's got the wherewithal, and he's just so fucking good. Finds ways to win when you count the man out. Danny Roberts is fantastic, though. He's got fantastic ground game, fantastic striking. He's an up-and-coming guy, and I am actually shocked that Danny Roberts is the plus 170 underdog to a minus 200 Tim Means. I'm not going to say Tim Means is done. I'm not going to say he's on his way out, but this would be a great show out and a great way to get your name in front of more people with Danny Roberts. I'm going Danny Roberts, 500 church coin.
Okay, yeah. I kind of see the same thing here. I think Danny Roberts will get the job done. I like the value at plus 170. I'm putting 300 church coin on Danny Roberts for the win.
All right, this is the best matchup of the night, in my opinion. This should be
a great
co-main.
fight.
Marlon Cheeto Vera versus Davy Grant. Davy Grant is not only fantastic on the feet, not only does he have knockout power, he's got great technical kickboxing, and he's got a fantastic ground game. He could take you down, he could submit you, he could fight off of his back, and you could essentially repeat the entire thing for Cheeto Vera. Cheeto Vera is a savage, and he's got fantastic striking, and you know he's going to want to keep it up on the feet. This could be a war. This could be a tightly contested fight. Possible fight of the year contender as well. I can't wait for this one. I am going with... I keep flip-flopping. I'm going Davy Grant, dude. At a plus 200, Davy Grant has looked electric in his last couple fights, coming off a couple first-round KOs, I believe. Danny Roberts, 400 church coin at a plus 200. It just seems like too good of a deal.
You mean Davy Grant?
Sorry, Davy Grant.
Okay,
My bad.
Yeah, I was confused. I completely agree with your breakdown for Davy Grant. His last loss was in 2018. He's put together a lot of impressive wins. His last fight, most notably against Jonathan Martinez, KO'd him in the second round. He's looked really good as of late. Marlon Vera was kind of on the up and up against Sugar Sean O'Malley. He looked really good in that. Finished Sugar in the first round, even though Sugar says, I never lost. Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. You lost. And then, he goes out against Jose Aldo and gets kind of outclassed or completely outclassed, in my opinion. But I do believe in those situations, fighters learn a lot about who they are and what they need to improve on. And I think Marlon Vera is a fighter here. I really like Cheeto. I'm going to go Marlon Vera. I am putting, I'm putting 480 on Marlon Vera for the win.
Alrighty. Wellington Truman versus Bruno Silva. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know either of these guys. Maybe I have. I'm pretty sure I've seen them fight so many times. There's just so many fighters, so many fights on every week. It's hard to keep track of a lot of these guys.
It definitely is.
So I'm just going to make an easy pick. Just because they're not jumping off the page for me, I'm going to go Silva, 100 church coin.
Yep. I'm going to go Silva, 100 church coin too. This is his first fight in the UFC, so we really don't know too much about him. And then Wellington Turman, this guy, he lost against Andrew Sanchez at UFC Fight Night 174. He did get a win and then lost to Carl Roberson, so he's kind of tumultuous back and forth. I like Bruno Silva here. Let's go 100 church coin on him for the win.
All right. Matt Brown versus Diego Lima. This is a great fight.
Yeah.
This is a great matchup. I mean, you got the savvy vet in Matt Brown versus Diego Lima, who's been around the block and is no fucking joke himself. Matt Brown, he's another one of these guys I'd say is fighting a bit past his prime, but I mean, he's still competitive and he goes out there and he shows out and puts on great fights. It's just I'm leaning Diego Lima. I think this is a correct line. You got Matt Brown coming in at +1 for 45 to a -170 Lima. I'm just going to go with 200 church coin on Lima.
Yep. Yeah, I feel the same way here. I mean, Matt Brown's now 40 years old. He got KO'd against Miguel Baeza. Came back out and beat Carlos Condit, which is all great and fine. But again, you're talking about there's levels to this competition here. Diego Lima still has some time to go. He's 32 years old, and he's beaten guys like Luke Jamiu, Court McGee, and now I think he's going to go out there and get the win. I am putting 1,000 church coin on Diego Lima for the win.
Alrighty then. Mason, it is that time.
It is that time.
Shout outs, my guy.
Yep.
I got an easy one this week.
Okay.
My shout out will go to Marvin Vettori, because no matter how bad he gets dominated, no matter how many rounds in a row he loses, the man never stopped believing in himself. And if you believe enough,
you can achieve.
And you conceive it. You got to conceive, believe to achieve.
Believe to achieve, yes. Nice.
Shout out to you, Marvin. Yeah. I mean, seriously, though, because that's the kind of mentality you need to have, especially in this wild game. I mean, if you're not confident in yourself.
It is true.
It's usually doesn't work out. It doesn't work out.
No. My shout out this week is to the new flyweight champion of the world. I not only counted you out once, but twice, Brandon Moreno. I don't know, man. It was a really powerful moment for me last night, and I have no stake in the game, obviously. I'm just a fan, but just for being a fan and just watching greatness, and then to understand what Moreno was going through, and to literally never give up on your dream. In all seriousness, you're talking about, Vettori, but Brandon Moreno never gave up on himself. I mean, to get cut from the UFC, that could be one of the most detrimental, saddest, most depressing days of your life. And the Led Zeppelin song, you have two paths you can go on, but in the long, there's still time to change the road you're on, And I mean, I'm not trying to quote Zeppelin here, but I mean, he had two paths he could have went down, and he didn't give up on himself, and he kept pushing through, and now he is a new flyweight champion of the world. This is literally what movies are made of. So shout out to Brandon Moreno, getting the job done. What a beautiful fight. What a beautiful moment for you and for all of Mexico, being the first Mexican-born champion in UFC history, and it couldn't have happened to a better individual. So shout out to you, Brandon Moreno.
He already has a mural painted
Good
in
for him.
Tijuana of
That's
him
awesome.
crying with the belt, and it's super cool. It's like, shit, when did you guys start? Because it's a beautiful
Right
painting.
away.
They must have started the second the fight ended. They're like, fuck Izzy, and just started painting instantly.
Well,
'cause it's huge.
that painter was setting up. He was ready to go. He was painting a mural. He didn't know what it was going to be, but as soon as that happened, he goes, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, shout out to that guy
Yeah.
for being a fucking fantastic artist.
No joke. Getting it done within a day.
Yeah, well, before we end this, one, I'd have to apologize to you guys and to everyone listening. Sorry I was not on like I usually am, but these allergies are fucking me up right
Well,
now.
Tabor, you were more on than last week, so.
True. True. You're not wrong. I mean, you're definitely not wrong there.
All right, everyone.
Let's end it.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, Instagram, that is the one we post to the most. Go and follow us at The Church of MMA. We also have a Twitter, TikTok, everything. Posting funny memes, trying to make you guys laugh. Hit us up.
Smash that subscribe button. Tell your friends about the show. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. Steal your buddy's phone. Subscribe to the channel. Come on, guys. We're so close. We got to have that community page. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. This is The Church of MMA podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That is Tabor Cragen. And until next time.
Peace.